Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomás Garza, and I've got a very, very fun show in store for you today. Now, do I say that every day? Yeah, even if I didn't, I mean it. In fact, because it is fun for me to come here live with you, to interact with you. And I really thank you for tuning in. And whether you're catching this live or on the replay, I very much appreciate all of your participation and your feedback, because this is a participatory exercise by design. This is why, when it comes to spiritual practice, you see so much being done in a group, whether it's A Course in Miracles or whether it is anything else. There's a lot of power in sharing ideas with each other and sharing questions. And I really appreciate all of your questions and comments, because for every time that you show up in the comment thread and say something, there's someone out there in the world, likely a lot more than one person, who's having the same thought, who's wondering the same thing, asking the same question. So if you have questions, definitely please ask. You'll be benefiting yourself and countless other people. Countless other people. That's the beauty of the internet and today's technology, is it allows us to reach people all over the world whom we'll never likely meet in person. It just isn't likely to happen. However, we can interact, and you, by asking a question today on this live stream, or by making a comment about your own observations, your own experience, your own practice, you may be benefiting somebody on the other side of the world. And that's a beautiful thing. So I do invite those, and I do go back, by the way, and check these. So if you're catching the replay and have questions or comments, definitely feel welcome to please leave them here. All right. So yesterday on the live, we talked, as we always do, about choosing love. And as you've heard me say before, as you hear Jesus say all the time in A Course in Miracles, we have a choice of love or fear at every moment. So a comment came up yesterday, and I very much appreciate that, of, okay, how do people choose love? There are so many people out there who may recognize, because it does, on the surface of it, make a lot of sense, doesn't it, that we have one choice, and that's between love or fear. So how do we choose love? How do we choose it in the moment? And how do we choose it consistently? And that is a question that came up, and I very, very much appreciate that. Let's talk about that first here today, and then we'll go into Workbook Lesson 87, which covers a couple of real beautiful, spiritual, heavy-hitting ideas from the workbook. They're all that way. These are great, and there's a lot of energy behind them. So we'll get into that, but let's talk about how you choose love. Okay, well, for starters, most of us run through our lives unaware of what we're doing. Really, we may think we've got it all together. We may think we've got it all orchestrated, planned out, when in truth, we're simply running on autopilot, aren't we? We are running our lives based on our conditioning, based on our habitual tendencies that we acquired when we were very young and may or may not even be aware of. And it's perfectly normal to reach middle age, like myself, and still be conditioned. We all have this, and spiritual practice is about recognizing it and then undoing it. So the first component of that is recognizing it. One has to have awareness that there's a choice between love or fear. One has to have the awareness of the simplicity of that choice, that it really truly is one or the other. And every other experience, the whole gamut of human experience, stems from that one choice. Choices in favor of love make us happy. They make us, well, fun and lighthearted and joyful and forgiving, loving, generous, kind. Choices made out of fear cause us to lash out. They make us paranoid, fearful, attacking, angry, sad, frustrated, depressed, anxious. We have a lot of names for that, and that's the choice, is love or fear. So we first have to be aware that that's the choice we're making. I mean, how do you choose love? Well, you have to be aware that that is a choice. Now, our habitual tendencies and our habitual conditioning in the world might leave us in a state where we're not even aware of that. So that is most definitely the starting point. It's awareness. That's why so much emphasis is placed on mindfulness, on awareness, on focused awareness in spiritual practice. It's the starting point for a lot of reasons. Another thing that you can do to choose love is to ask for help. This is beautiful. Prayer does work. Asking your guides for assistance and help works. Why does it work? Because it's stating that I don't know the answers. Please help. It's leaving the ego to the side. Even if you only do it for a moment and then boom, it's back. Just that one gap is enough to start a whole chain reaction in favor of love. Admitting that you don't have all of the answers and asking for help is tremendous. So please do that. Do that. And you can ask in any number of ways, whatever you feel the most comfortable with. Help me choose love here. Help me choose love in this situation. What does that look like? Those are good questions. They're good questions. And it's important that we recognize the benefits of choosing love. I mean, it's one thing to be aware that that's the choice that we're making moment to moment. So, what are some of the benefits? And we've been through a few of those. What that might look like is you might feel more lighthearted. You might feel more joyful, loving, kind, yeah, generous, patient. How about that? That's a good one. Yeah, patience. Yes. So, recognizing the benefits of that is really important. And then we practice. We come to a space where it's up to us to practice. We can recognize that we have a choice between love or fear and ask for help in making that choice or in recognizing it. Then we have to do the work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, spirituality is not, it's not just acquiring brand new cars. In fact, that really doesn't have anything to do with it. Any techniques that are designed simply to make us materially richer don't, in fact, guarantee happiness. But they often leave the ego firmly 100% intact. Yeah, our minds are that powerful. Yes, we create our own reality. However, when it comes to creating lasting happiness, we've got to do something different. Yeah, happiness is not in a Mercedes Benz. Sorry. I mean, although, if you've got a brand new Benz and or even used and you want to just give me the keys and the title, cool, thank you. I'd be grateful for that, naturally, yes. I wouldn't tell you no. But that's not where happiness lies. It's internal. It's an inside job, 100% inside job. And practice is about getting to a place where we have a calm mind. It's internal. This is where happiness stems from. So this is why so much emphasis is placed on meditation in different versions of world spirituality, including A Course in Miracles, right here in the workbook. What are these daily practice periods but meditations? It's exactly the same thing. A tranquil mind is not a small gift. The Course says that in several places. and emphasizes it. A tranquil mind is not a small gift. What happens with a tranquil mind? We open up space, mental, spiritual, emotional, psychological space for ourselves to make different decisions. In other words, to choose love instead of fear. That's how. Practice, meditation, practice of these ideas, prayer, whatever rituals you have or whatever your spiritual practice looks like, it is experiential. Spirituality is about experience. Yes, it's important to understand the terminology. Of course, it is. It's important to understand the words, but we've got to understand the meaning and we have to experience that. That's how it really hits us. That's how we really integrate it, is through experience. And there is no substitute for that. So have you made a good choice moment to moment? Well, how do you feel? Do you feel loving, happy, joyful, forgiving, kind, or do you feel awful? Do you feel mean, vindictive, guilty? And that's a pretty good indicator. So we employ our feelings as an emotional guidance system to indicate to us whether we're making the right choice or not. Now, what happens if we discover we're making the wrong choice? Same thing that happens when we discover we're distracted in sitting meditation. You bring your awareness back to the object of meditation, bring it back to love. Because every moment is an opportunity for us to choose again. So we chose poorly this time. All right, so what? We have another opportunity to choose right now. And I can hear people thinking in their heads, I can feel it. What about when we follow our habitual tendencies and we feel good in the moment, like when we say something that we feel like somebody needs to hear and it's not kind and it's not polite. In other words, we tell them off and we feel great for about 5 seconds. Yeah, something like that, where we act out of habitual tendencies, feel good momentarily and then don't. Well, that's not happiness. Why? The guilt comes back in. If guilt enters in any way, you can be 100% certain that you have not chosen love. If you've chosen a loving response, guilt cannot enter. Love absolutely shines it away. It cancels it. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. It's no longer dark. The guilt disappears. So if you're feeling guilty or second guessing yourself, then you can bet that that wasn't a wholly loving response. And it wasn't a loving response at all in that case, because you either choose one or the other, and there are no gradations in between. It only appears that way. So how do you move forward choosing love? Well, practice, right? Be aware that this is the choice to make. Ask for help and practice. Spiritual practice. I can't emphasize it enough. Why? Because it works. I have 100% confidence in saying that it works because I've put it to practice in my own life. Perhaps you have too, with good results, I hope. Yeah. Well, because if you do it earnestly and you mean it and you do it consistently enough, it begins to color your entire experience. Pretty soon you're having a completely different experience of life. And that's a beautiful thing. So those are some thoughts on how you choose love. And it's a choice, and you have the power to choose, and you've never lost your free will. None of us has. We have the power to choose, and that should be something that's very exciting, because even if you've made countless fear-based choices in your life up until this point, right now, you can choose love. And you can begin undoing all of the effects of the fear-based choices. You choose love again and again, and as often as you can, then you begin to have a different experience in life. You see things differently, literally. You see things differently, you feel them differently, you experience everything, including yourself and others and the world, completely differently. And is that worth it? Oh, yeah. Yes. I think we all know that it is. Okay, so let's spend a couple of minutes here on the workbook ideas for today. Now, these stem from lesson 87 in the workbook. It's a review of lessons 73 and 74. So, lesson 73, speaking of will, I will there be light. Will, right? We have not lost our free will. And an idea for your consideration that's mentioned throughout A Course in Miracles: God's will and your will are the same, no different, same. I invite you to sit with that idea, that truth. It's the same will. It's the same will. And light, like we just talked about, is kind of like flicking on a light switch in a dark room. It cancels the darkness one can see. Think about the power of this idea. I will there be light. Not darkness, light. Even though we're adults, all too often running around afraid of the dark, afraid of shadows, like small children. Like small children that want a night light, or they want the hall light or the bathroom light on, just so there's some light because they're afraid of the dark. Well, so are adults afraid of the dark. And we behave in such a way that we're clearly fearful, clearly afraid. This tremendous power in this idea. I will there be light. Turn the light switch on. Yeah, how do you do it? Choose love, for starters. Right now. Right now. Lesson 74, there is no will but God's. Okay. So how can we say, like I just said, that your will and God's will are one? There is no will but God's. We say in A Course in Miracles, in this thought system, God is, period. And what that means is that nothing else is. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. That is the summary of A Course in Miracles from the very beginning of the text. Powerful idea number 2 for the day. There is no will but God's. When we believe that there is another, in other words, our own individual, independent will that seems to be running the show here on earth, right, in our lives, and of course other people seem to have their own will too, it seems cut off and separate. What that does is it makes us afraid, and we feel threatened. When we feel threatened, we're likely to lash out, right? And if we don't lash out, we sit and spin in our own heads, in our own mind, imagining all kinds of different attack scenarios, doomsday prep scenarios where we feel everyone's out to get us, and we spin. And that's suffering. It is. It's suffering to sit and spin like that. And we don't need to. This is an empowering statement. We don't need to. You don't have to. None of us has to. There is no will but God's, and that is love. It's happiness. It is that. And you may hear people saying, and maybe friends, family members, I don't know, maybe it's even your spouse, might say something from common parlance in society like, well, happiness is overrated. No, it's not. Really? I don't think so, because we all recognize it deep down. We all have a discriminating awareness deep down. We may choose not to access it, but this is something that we can access with spiritual practice. We become attuned to it. We become attenuated to a different perception and our entire life changes. Our focus literally changes, starting with a choice in the present moment of love. All right. So plenty of powerful stuff here today and every day. This is A Course in Miracles, after all. Surely you didn't think you were going to get something that wasn't powerful and deep, yeah, and full of energy, right? All right, so let's pop on here and say hello. This is one of the parts that I love the most, is this interaction with all of you. So let's bring this up here, and we will see who's joining us here today. All right. It looks like we've got a few people on. Susan and John, hi, how are you guys? Thanks for tuning in here. Yes, and Hope, hi, how are you? All righty, and good afternoon to you. Yeah, love is always there. As John writes, love is always there. There is no time. It's timeless. Absolutely correct. Yeah, that's really what it is. Love doesn't have any opposite. That's one way of looking at it. It doesn't have any opposite. You might say, okay, well, hate and fear is an opposite, but no, those don't really truly exist. Remember, God is, period, meaning nothing else is. The fear, yeah, it's nothing. It's like a passing cloud. It appears to be there 1 minute, and then you look away and it's gone the next. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Yeah. And our conventions like time, space are things that honestly we've invented as human beings. Now it can be used to our benefit and the benefit of everyone else. The function of time, according to A Course in Miracles, is for us to wake up, right? It's for us to choose love. It's for us to have these deep and beautiful and powerful experiences of joining and being united with everyone else in the world, our brothers, sisters, and with God, ultimately. It is oneness. So it's our opportunity in time to awaken to that. And then time doesn't have any more purpose at all. So we use it to wake up. Yeah, wonderful. And yes, so kindness and patience, yeah. There's so many things that we can bring to the table here. You know, there's so many things that we can bring to the table. And what we're really looking to do is awaken to the truth and the experience of who we really are. That's what all of this is about in the end. And there are many, many ways that you can access this. So on this live stream, I'm presenting A Course in Miracles, but as you can see, there are so many ideas that apply to any form of spirituality or religious practice that you might engage yourself in. Yeah, most definitely. There is so much that one can take away from this study that augments, that clarifies, that enhances, and hopefully enlivens your own spiritual practice. So that's my hope for everyone here. And thank you all for joining me today. I just want to remind you, if you're joining me for the first time, that this is a daily live stream here on Enlightened World Network. So that means we'll see you back here tomorrow. We'll continue to go through the workbook exercises here. We're in a review period where we're reviewing a couple of ideas a day, and they're very, very succinct, and they're very deep, powerful, and it would be very, very kind of you to put these ideas into practice. All right. Thank you so much